Oh my God.
At the very end of a dusty livestock auction, when most people were already heading for the exits, a single pregnant Mare stood alone in the back pen. No bids, no interest. Just a tired body carrying new life, priced lower than a used saddle. $100. That's all it took. No one knew her story. No papers, no history. Just a heavy belly and eyes that looked like they'd already accepted the worst. And when one woman raised her hand, she thought she was only saving a life. But 3 days later, everything changed. Because when that foal hit the ground, it wasn't just healthy, it was extraordinary. The kind of foal that makes seasoned ranchers step back in silence. The kind that makes you ask one terrifying question. How did something this valuable almost disappear forever? What followed uncovered theft, hidden bloodlines, a life on the brink of slaughter, and a chain reaction that would ripple for years? This isn't just a horse story. This is a Wild West lesson about compassion and consequences. Welcome to MR, Last Ride. Before we ride deeper into this story, take a second to support the channel. Most of the buyers were already drifting toward their trucks, boots heavy, minds made up. The good cattle were gone. The flashy horses had already drawn their applause and their money. What remained were the leftovers, the animals people glanced at once and then quietly ignored. In the far corner of the pen stood a Mare No One Wanted. She was big-boned, chestnut-colored, with a sway in her back that told a long story without words. Her belly hung low, unmistakably pregnant, and her coat had lost its shine. Not neglected exactly, but not cherished either. She stood still, ears half back, as if she'd learned that hope was expensive. The auctioneer barely slowed his rhythm. Pregnant Mare. No papers. As is. Who'll start me at 200? Silence. A few people shifted. Someone coughed. A ranch hand leaned on the fence and shook his head. Pregnant Mares were risks unknown foals, unknown bloodlines, unknown trouble. In the Wild West world of ranching, uncertainty cost money, and money didn't come easy. The auctioneer tried again. 150? Nothing. At the edge of the crowd stood a woman who hadn't planned on buying a horse that day. She wasn't a big-name breeder. She wasn't there chasing profit. 100, the auctioneer finally said, his voice almost apologetic. That number hung in the air like a dare. $100. Less than a pair of decent boots. Less than a weekend's feed bill. A price that whispered the truth no one wanted to say out loud. If no one raised a hand, this Mare's next stop wouldn't be a pasture. It would be a truck headed somewhere darker. The woman hesitated. Anyone who's ever worked with horses knows that pause. It's the moment when logic and instinct collide. When your head lists reasons not to act, and your gut quietly begs you to ignore them. She thought about the cost. The vet bills, the uncertainty. A pregnant Mare could mean complications. A stillborn foal, or worse, losing them both. But then the Mare lifted her head. Their eyes met, and in that instant, the decision was already made. The woman raised her hand. I got 100. The auctioneer didn't waste a second. Sold. Just like that, the Mare had a future again. A few heads turned. Someone muttered, "Hope she knows what she's doing." Another chuckled under his breath. People had seen this kind of thing before, soft-hearted buyers picking up trouble because they couldn't walk away. But the woman didn't hear them. She walked toward the pen, slow and calm, letting the Mare see her coming. The horse didn't flinch, didn't step back, just watched. That was the first sign. Loading the Mare into the trailer wasn't easy. She moved carefully, shifting her weight, protecting the life inside her. Every step looked deliberate, like she was measuring the ground before trusting it. But she loaded without panic, without resistance. Another sign. The drive home was quiet. The woman kept glancing in the mirror, watching the trailer sway gently behind her. Every bump in the road felt louder than it should. Every mile raised new questions. Who had owned this Mare before? Why were there no papers? And why did a pregnant horse look so composed? When they arrived at the small ranch, the sun was already dipping below the horizon. The woman opened the trailer and let the Mare step out into a fenced paddock with fresh hay and clean water. The Mare lowered her head and ate like she hadn't seen hay in days. Still no panic, no aggression, just relief. That night, the woman barely slept. She replayed the auction over and over in her mind. The silence, the price, the way the Mare had stood there, waiting. She told herself she'd done the right thing, but doubt is stubborn. It creeps in when the world goes quiet. By morning, she called a local veterinarian. The vet arrived midday, an older man with sun-worn hands and a calm voice, the kind of professional who'd seen more births and losses than he cared to count. He examined the Mare carefully, checking her legs, her teeth, her breathing, then he frowned. "How far along did they say she was?" he asked. "They didn't," the woman replied. "Just said she was pregnant." The vet nodded slowly and placed a hand on the Mare's belly. "Well," he said, "you won't be waiting long." "How long?" the woman asked. The vet looked up at her. 3 days, maybe less. Her heart skipped. 3 days. That was no time at all. The vet also noticed something else. The Mare's muscle tone, her posture, the way she responded to touch. "This horse has had training," he said. "Good training?" The woman blinked. "What kind?" The vet shrugged. "The kind people don't usually send to auctions like that." That comment lingered long after the vet left.
That evening, the woman brushed the mare gently, noticing old scars beneath the coat. Not abuse scars, but work scars. The kind earned over years of use. The mare stood quietly, eyes half closed, trusting a human she'd known for less than 24 hours. Another sign. By the second night, the mare grew restless. She paced slowly, then stopped, pawed at the ground, lay down, got back up. The woman stayed with her, lantern glowing softly in the barn, heart pounding with every movement. This was the part no auction ever prepared you for, the waiting, the helplessness, the quiet promise that something was about to change forever. And when the contractions finally began, the mare didn't scream, didn't thrash. She breathed, deep, controlled, like she'd done this before, like she knew exactly what she was doing. As dawn crept through the cracks in the barn walls, the moment arrived. The woman knelt in the straw, whispering encouragement, hands shaking despite herself. This was it. This was the unknown future she'd paid $100 for. And when the foal finally emerged, wet, trembling, alive, the woman smiled with relief. And she really looked, and her breath caught in her throat. Because this wasn't just a foal. This was something else entirely. Something that made no sense. Something that would soon force a question far bigger than compassion or coincidence. For a long moment, the barn was silent except for the mare's breathing and the soft rustle of straw. The woman stayed frozen on her knees, lantern light flickering across the newborn foal. She'd been around horses long enough to know what a normal birth looked like. She'd seen healthy foals, weak ones, stubborn ones that took a while to stand. This was none of those. The foal lay there, slick with birth, but already alert. Its ears twitched toward sound. Its head lifted higher than expected, neck arching with a strength that didn't belong to something only minutes old. Even the mare seemed to pause, as if she sensed it too. The woman swallowed. "Easy now," she whispered, though she wasn't sure who she was talking to. As she wiped the foal's face, her hand stopped mid-motion. The markings. They weren't flashy in a loud way. No wild splashes of white. No exaggerated patterns. Instead, there was a clean, deliberate symmetry, a narrow blaze, perfectly centered, socks that stopped at the same height on each leg. It was the kind of balance breeders spent generations trying to produce. But that wasn't what made her breath hitch. It was the way the foal moved. Within minutes, it pulled its legs under itself, awkward at first, then steadier. Too steady. It tried to stand once, failed, and tried again immediately, refusing to wait. Most foals rested between attempts. This one didn't. Stubborn. Focused. The mare nudged it gently, not anxious, not overbearing. She stood like a quiet guardian, confident in something unseen. When the foal finally stood, the woman let out a shaky laugh of relief. And then she noticed the stance. The legs were straight, clean. The angles were right. There was no wobble, no sickly bend. Even the vet, who arrived less than an hour later after a hurried phone call, stopped short at the stall door. "Well, I'll be," he murmured. He circled slowly, saying nothing at first, eyes sharp. He crouched, checked joints, ran practiced hand along bone and muscle. The foal flicked an ear, but didn't pull away. "Have you named it yet?" the vet asked casually. The woman shook her head. "Don't," he said. "Not yet." That stopped her cold. "What do you mean?" The vet straightened and exhaled slowly. "I mean," he said, choosing his words carefully, "this foal doesn't belong in a $100 story." The woman felt a chill run through her. He explained as simply as he could. The structure, the muscle distribution, the responsiveness. These weren't accidents. They were inherited traits, and not from just any lineage. "This is the kind of foal people insure," he said quietly. "The kind they track, register, protect." The woman glanced at the mare, who stood calmly chewing hay, as if none of this concerned her. "But there were no papers," the woman said. "Nothing. She was just there." The vet nodded. "That's what worries me." Over the next few days, word traveled faster than she expected. A neighbor stopped by to take a look, then another. Ranchers had a way of sensing when something unusual was happening, even before facts caught up. Each visitor tried to sound casual, but their eyes gave them away. One older rancher stood leaning against the fence for a long time, hat pulled low. "That mare got any history?" he finally asked. "None I know of," the woman replied. He nodded slowly, still watching the foal move beside its mother. "Shame," he said. "Someone's missing something real valuable." That night, the woman searched online. Bloodlines, markings, breed characteristics. She compared photos, notes, breeder forms. The deeper she went, the tighter her chest felt. Too many similarities. Too many coincidences. By the fourth day, the foal was already moving with a smoothness that turned heads. It followed the mare closely, mimicking her steps, learning fast. When startled, it didn't bolt blindly. It assessed, adjusted, reacted. Not prey behavior, trained instincts. The woman began asking herself questions she hadn't wanted to consider. Will let a mare like this go? Who loses track of bloodlines worth more than most trucks? And why send her to an auction with no papers, pregnant? The answer she feared was the one that made the most sense. Someone didn't lose this horse. They hit her. The phone call came late in the afternoon on the fifth day. The number was unfamiliar. "Hello," she answered. There was a pause on the other end. "Yes," a man's voice said slowly. "I'm calling about a chestnut mare you may have recently acquired." Her heart dropped. "Who is this?" she asked. The man cleared his throat. "My name isn't important yet, but the mare is." Silence filled the line, heavy and uncomfortable. "She was stolen," he said flatly. The woman's grip tightened on the phone. "That's not possible," she said. "She was at a public auction." "That's exactly where she was supposed to end up," the man replied. "Quiet, cheap, untraceable." The woman felt dizzy. The man went on, explaining just enough to make her stomach turn. The mare had been part of a private breeding program. Valuable, carefully tracked. When she was discovered pregnant, with a foal that could rival years of selective breeding, someone panicked. Instead of reporting her, they erased her. No papers, no digital trail. Dumped at an auction where no one would ask questions. Except one person did. "You," the man said. The woman looked out the window at the paddock, where the foal stood in the sunlight, legs long and confident, tail flicking like it owned the world. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. Another pause. That depends, the man said, on what kind of person you are. The line went dead. That night, sleep didn't come. She sat on the porch, listening to the distant sounds of the ranch, staring at the stars. She thought about the mare's eyes at the auction, the trust, the calm, the full strength. She hadn't bought a problem. She'd inherited a responsibility. And the hardest part wasn't fear. It was knowing that doing the right thing might mean letting go of something she'd already grown to love. As dawn approached, she made a decision, one that would change her life just as much as it would change the future of a horse that almost disappeared forever. Morning arrived without answers, only heavier questions. The woman stood at the fence, coffee gone cold in her hands, watching the mare and foal move together through the soft grass. The foal stayed close, but not timid. It stepped forward with confidence, testing the world in short, curious bursts, then returning to the safety of its mother's side. It already knew where it belonged. The phone call from the night before replayed in her mind. She was stolen. The words felt sharp, unfinished, like a door left open on a dark room. She didn't want to believe it. Not fully. Ranchers told stories all the time, half-truths wrapped in mystery. But the man on the phone hadn't sounded dramatic. He'd sounded precise, controlled, like someone used to cleaning up messes. By mid-morning, another truck pulled into her driveway. This time, it wasn't a neighbor. A dark pickup, clean but unmarked. The kind of vehicle that didn't belong to a ranch hand or a tourist. The man who stepped out wore plain clothes, but everything about him felt deliberate, from the way he closed the door to the way he scanned the land before approaching. He didn't smile. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," he said. She hadn't agreed to anything. He'd simply said he was coming. They walked toward the paddock together. The mare lifted her head at the stranger's presence, eyes sharp now, body shifting protectively. The foal stayed behind her, watching. The man stopped several feet back. "That's her," he said quietly. The woman crossed her arms. "If you're here to take her, you should know I didn't steal anything." "I know," he replied. "If you had, I wouldn't be standing this far away." He explained slowly. The mare had been reported missing months earlier from a breeding facility 2 states away. No forced entry, no broken fences. Someone with access had moved her. When the pregnancy was discovered, things changed. The foal represented years of genetic planning, contracts, expectations. Instead of reporting the loss, someone tried to erase it. They underestimated auctions, the man said, and they underestimated people. The woman laughed once, sharp and humorless. They didn't underestimate the price. No, he agreed. They hoped no one would look twice. The man crouched near the fence, studying the foal's movement. "This one's special," he said. "You know that now." She nodded. "What you may not know," he continued, "is that legally, the mare and foal still belong to the original owners." Her stomach tightened. "So what happens?" she asked. He stood, brushing dust from his jeans. "That depends on how this goes," he said. "We can do this the hard way. Lawyers, claims, investigations. Or we can do it clean." "Clean for who?" she asked. "For everyone," he replied. The offer came quickly after that. Compensation. More than fair. Enough to buy better land, better equipment. Enough to make the $100 feel like a lifetime ago. All she had to do was sign over custody. The woman looked past him, back at the mare. The horse stood calm again now, eyes soft, unaware of paperwork and contracts. She trusted the woman completely. Trusted her to protect the foal standing pressed against her side. "How do I know they won't disappear her again?" the woman asked. The man hesitated. "You don't," he said honestly. "But I do know this. People are watching now." That didn't comfort her as much as he probably expected. She asked for time. The man nodded. "You have 48 hours. After he left, the ranch felt quieter than before. Even the wind seemed to slow. She spent that afternoon doing what she always did when life became too loud. Working, cleaning stalls, mending fence wire, brushing the mare until her coat caught the sun again. The mare leaned into the brush, eyes closing, breathing deep. That trust hurt. That night, the woman called the vet. He listened without interruption, then sighed. "I figured this would happen," he said. "What would you do?" she asked. There was a pause. "If it were just about money," he said, "I'd say sign. But it's not. It's about what kind of ending this story deserves. She slept in the barn that night. The foal lay curled in the straw, legs tucked neatly beneath its body. Even in rest, it looked composed, purposeful. The woman realized something then. This wasn't just a gift she'd stumbled into. It was a test. The next day, she drove to the nearest town and met with a lawyer. Not to fight, but to understand. To make sure she wasn't about to make a mistake she couldn't undo. The truth was simple and cruel. Legally, she could keep fighting. Morally, things were murkier. The mare hadn't been hers to buy, but the life she'd saved was real. That afternoon, she walked the fence line again, the sun low, casting long shadows. "What would you want?" she asked the mare softly. The horse didn't answer, but she stepped closer, lowering her head, standing steady. That was enough. When a man returned the next day, the woman was ready. "I'll sign," she said, "on one condition." He raised an eyebrow. "The foal stays with the mare," she said. "No separation. And I want proof, real proof, that they'll be protected, not hidden." The man studied her for a long moment. "You drive a hard bargain for someone who paid $100, he said. She met his gaze. "I didn't buy a horse. I saved one." After a tense pause, he nodded. "Done." The paperwork took hours. Signatures, copies, assurances. When it was over, the woman felt both relief and grief wash through her at once. They loaded the mare and foal into a trailer together. The mare stepped in calmly, the foal following without hesitation. Before the doors closed, the woman rested a hand on the mare's neck. "You were never forgotten," she whispered. "Not really." The truck pulled away, dust rising behind it. The paddock felt empty, but the story wasn't over. Not even close. Because what happened next, years later, would turn that quiet auction decision into a legend whispered across ranches and breeding circles alike. Time has a strange way of finishing stories we think are already over. For the woman, life slowly returned to its old rhythm. The paddock stayed empty for a while, longer than she expected. Some mornings she still caught herself glancing toward it, half expecting to see a chestnut mare and her foal standing in the grass like they'd never left. But seasons don't wait for memories. Spring rolled into summer, summer into fall. The ranch kept moving just like it always had. Still, that $100 auction followed her in quiet ways. Late-night thoughts, conversations that drifted back to what if, and a lingering sense that something unfinished was out there, growing beyond her sight. She didn't talk about it much. Most people wouldn't have understood anyway. Years passed. Then one afternoon, a letter arrived. No return address. Heavy paper. The kind you don't throw away. Inside was a single photograph. The woman's breath caught the moment she saw it. A powerful horse stood in the frame, tall, muscular, perfectly balanced. Its coat gleamed under arena lights, and its posture radiated confidence. Spectators blurred in the background, frozen in awe. At the bottom of the photo, handwritten in neat ink, were 3 words. "You saved this." Her hands trembled. The letter that followed filled in the gaps time had left behind. The foal had grown into something extraordinary, far beyond early expectations. Under careful training, it displayed not just strength but intelligence, precision, calm under pressure. It wasn't just winning events, it was redefining standards. Breeders took notice, then competitors, then the industry itself. People began asking questions. Where did this horse come from? Who bred it? Why had no one heard of it before? The truth surfaced slowly, reluctantly. The stolen mare, the erased paperwork, the auction mistake that wasn't a mistake at all. When the story finally broke, it spread like wildfire across ranches and training circles. Not with anger, but with disbelief. A horse of that caliber, sold for $100. The mare, too, had lived well. She retired comfortably, healthy and calm, her worth finally recognized. She never entered another auction ring. She never feared disappearing again. And the woman? She never asked for recognition, never took credit publicly. She'd done what she believed was right and walked away when it counted. But people remembered. At auctions, old-timers began telling the story to newcomers. "Don't ignore the quiet ones," they'd say. "Sometimes the greatest value stands in the corner, Ranchers started paying closer attention. Pregnant mares were no longer dismissed so easily. Auctions weren't just marketplaces anymore. They became places of second looks and second chances. That single decision changed more than one life. It changed a mindset. Years later, the woman attended a major event at the invitation of someone who knew her story. She stood among the crowd, unnoticed, watching as the horse entered the arena. The same markings, the same calm presence. Only now, the confidence was undeniable. The horse performed flawlessly. The crowd erupted. Applause thundered through the stands. The woman didn't clap right away. She simply smiled, because she knew something the crowd didn't. She knew the price of that moment. Not the money, the courage. The pause at an auction when no one else raised a hand. The risk of compassion. The choice to protect instead of profit. When people later asked her if she regretted letting the horse go, she always gave the same answer. No, she said. Some things aren't meant to be owned. They're meant to be saved. And that's why this story still matters. Not because of a legendary horse, though it was. Not because of $100 miracle, though it was that too. But because in a world that moves fast, values numbers, and often looks away, one person stopped long enough to see worth where others saw inconvenience. That's the Wild West lesson. Legends aren't always born in spotlight arenas or grand ranches. Sometimes, they're born in dusty auction yards, waiting for someone brave enough to believe that if this story moved you, if it reminded you why heart still matters in the Wild West, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this story from MR. Last Ride. Because legends don't survive unless we tell them. And somewhere out there, another quiet miracle might be waiting.